The Draconis Imperial flagship hung in the void like a jewel carved from obsidian and starlight. Amelia pressed her nose against the observation port of her father's repair shuttle, watching the massive vessel with wide eyes full of wonder. At 12 years old, she'd already spent half her life aboard human vessels, but nothing compared to the dragon ships. "Stay close, Amelia," her father muttered, checking his toolkit for the third time. Jackson was one of the few human mechanics trusted to work on alien vessels, a reputation earned through 15 years of impeccable service and an almost supernatural understanding of xenotechnology. "I will, Dad," Amelia promised, clutching a small insulated container to her chest. The Draconis didn't typically allow children aboard their vessels. They barely tolerated humans at all. But Jackson's contract was explicit. He went nowhere without his daughter, not after her mother's death 3 years prior. The dragons had grumbled, hissed, and finally acquiesced. Good mechanics were harder to find than compliant ones. The airlock cycled with a pneumatic hiss. Amelia followed her father into a corridor that made her feel like she'd been swallowed by some massive beast. Everything was scaled for beings 3 times human size. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, not mere decoration, but the ship's actual nervous system. Jackson had explained that a Draconis warrior waited for them, her scales shimmering between deep purple and black. She stood nearly 9 feet tall, with wings folded against her back and eyes like molten gold. Those eyes fixed on Amelia with undisguised suspicion. "The hatchling comes again?" The warrior rumbled in heavily accented standard. "My daughter," Jackson corrected gently but firmly. He'd learned that among the Draconis, showing weakness invited contempt, but showing respect for one's offspring earned a measure of honor. The warrior's tail swished, a gesture Amelia had learned meant grudging acceptance. "The Queen's chamber systems require attention. You have 4 hours." They walked through corridors where steam vented from biological conduits, and the very walls seemed to breathe. Amelia had made this journey before, but today felt different. Today was special. The Queen's sanctum occupied the ship's heart. Here, the bioluminescence pulsed in deep crimsons and golds, colors that spoke of royalty and ancient power. Queen Viraxis herself lounged on a platform designed to accommodate her massive form. She was easily twice the size of her warriors, her scales the color of burnished copper, with wings that could blot out suns. "Mechanic Jackson," she acknowledged, her voice like thunder rolling through mountain valleys. "You may begin." Jackson bowed. Not too deep, never too deep, and began his work on the environmental controls. The Queen's chambers were notorious for their complexity, integrating Draconis biotech with systems scavenged from a dozen conquered species. Amelia stood quietly, as she always did. But her eyes kept darting to the Queen, and her fingers tightened around her container day and hour past. Jackson worked with the focused intensity that made him invaluable, his hands moving with practiced precision through alien technology. Amelia watched both her father and the Queen, waiting for the right moment. Finally, she couldn't wait any longer. "Excuse me, Your Majesty?" Amelia's voice was small in the vast chamber. The Queen's massive head swiveled toward her, golden eyes narrowing. Jackson froze, tools in hand. No one interrupted a Draconis queen. No one. "The hatchling speaks." Viraxis's tone held more curiosity than anger. "Unusual." Amelia stepped forward, her container held before her like an offering. I heard the crew talking. They said today is your hatching day. Your birthday." The chamber fell absolutely silent. Even the ship's biosystems seemed to quiet. "You understand our calendar." The Queen's voice had lost its thunder, becoming something almost soft. "Dad taught me. He said good mechanics understand the people they serve, not just the machines." Amelia opened the container. Inside sat a cake, small by human standards, tiny by Draconis ones, but perfectly formed. Chocolate with vanilla frosting, decorated with careful designs in gold food coloring that mimicked Draconis scale patterns. "I made this for you," Amelia said. "Happy birthday, Your Majesty." Queen Viraxis stared at the tiny confection. Her wings rustled, scales shifting through colors Jackson had never seen. Confusion, surprise, something deeper. "You made this? For me?" "Yes, Your Majesty. Everyone should have cake on their birthday." The Queen lowered her massive head, bringing her face level with the small human child. Up close, Amelia could see scars across those copper scales, marks of countless battles. But in those golden eyes, she saw something else entirely. In 943 cycles, Queen Viraxis said slowly, "Not once has anyone acknowledged my hatching day. We Draconists do not celebrate such things. We are warriors, conquerors. We mark victories, not births." A single crystalline tear rolled down the queen's scaled cheek, catching the chamber's light like a falling star. "But you, a human hatchling, you made me cake?" Amelia nodded. "My mom used to say everyone deserves to feel special on their birthday, even dragon queens." For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Queen Viraxis carefully extended one massive claw, so delicately it seemed impossible for something so large. She lifted the entire cake container, brought it to her mouth, and ate it in one bite, container and all. "It is sweet," she rumbled, "like nothing in our empire." Jackson watched, stunned, as the most feared Draconis queen in 3 sectors sat back on her haunches, that single tear joined by others. "No one ever celebrated my birth," Viraxis repeated, her voice cracking with emotions her species had long ago deemed weakness. 943 cycles of existence. And today, a human child shows me what my own kind never could. She looked at Jackson with new eyes. "Your daughter is wise beyond her years, mechanic. She has her mother's heart," Jackson replied softly. The queen nodded slowly. "The Draconis Empire has conquered much, but perhaps we have forgotten something important." She turned back to Amelia. "What is your name, small one?" "Amelia, your majesty." "Amelia." The queen tested the name. "You have given me a gift I did not know I wanted, could not have asked for, and will never forget. This empire owes you a debt." "I don't want anything," Amelia said. "I just wanted you to have a happy birthday." Queen Viraxis laughed then, a sound like avalanches and volcanoes, but somehow warm. "Then you shall have what you do not want, my friendship and my protection for all your days." As they left the ship hours later, Jackson squeezed his daughter's hand. "That was either the bravest or most foolish thing I've ever seen." Amelia smiled. "Mom would have done it." "Yes," Jackson agreed, his eyes misting. "She would have." Behind them, aboard the Draconis Imperial flagship, a dragon queen sat in her chamber, still tasting sweetness on her tongue and feeling the unfamiliar warmth of being celebrated. And for the first time in nearly a millennium, she understood what humans meant by the word humanity. Sometimes the greatest victories aren't won with weapons, but with cake.